Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. This video I just kind of wanted to talk about something I noticed on Facebook recently when I was going through my settings, as I usually do from time to time, to kind of check up on the privacy policy and to make sure that my shit can't be seen by any schmuck who decides to stroll by my Facebook account and take a peek in. So anyway, something kind of funny I noticed is that Facebook now has this button or this option called the Legacy Contact, the Legacy Contact add-in, which is basically you can add someone that you trust, such as a family member or a good friend, into that spot. And if you happen to die, they get access to your Facebook account and everything that's on it, which in a way is kind of creepy. The weird part about this to me was that essentially you can have generations of people in control of these Facebook accounts, which is basically a family tree on Facebook with social media as a history for those people. You can also opt to have your account deleted once you die, which is something that I should definitely check. I haven't checked it yet because I don't think I'm going to die, but you never know. So anyway, this kind of got me thinking about the topic of social media in general, and I was recently reading an article about how psychologically human beings usually maintain meaningful friend groups with sizes of up to 150 people. If you really want to stretch it, you can up that by about 50 to 100, but the indicator of happiness to any individual person and being satisfied with relationships and such is that these relationships are meaningful and that they're not shallow and just I know your name basis. And that kind of brings me to my next point about Facebook, is that I have a lot of friends, and it seems to be the goal of a lot of people to rise to the top with friends. That seems to have been the goal since Facebook got started, is who can get the most friends. That is basically my social status, my popularity. It's kind of strange because a lot of these people you might not even know. For example, after considering my own friend groups yesterday, I went onto my Facebook account and I also looked at my friend groups and was looking at. I was going through all my friends to make sure that I actually knew these people and that I had a relationship with them, that I could strike up a conversation with them in the chat or in real life and be like, hey, how's it going? What's up? Or they're at least good friends that I was with at some point in my life that I could see myself continuing to have a relationship with. And amazingly, with even those that wide of a criteria, I went from 690-ish friends to 333 friends, all based on knocking out people that I just knew on a first name basis and really didn't have any interaction with. And the amazing thing is that it cleared up my news feed, and my news feed became occupied by things that I actually cared about. Now granted, you can also unfollow people, but then that doesn't really address the privacy thing, where anyone who wants to look at your Facebook can, and there's lots of back way methods that people can get to your account, such as going to someone you're friends with and then looking at their information and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, it made my news feed a lot more meaningful. A lot more like I looked at my news feed and I saw stories that I actually cared about. Hey, that person's doing this, that person's doing this, not just this negative feeling of I don't really care what this person's doing. People who spend enough time on social media understand that when they're looking through other people's feeds, or looking at other people's posts on their feeds, that it can be distracting and maybe a bit negative for themselves. Like, hey, that person's living a life that they're bragging, they're being too boisterous, they're whatever. There's a bunch of different reasons that it can be a negative, but not only did it make the newsfeed more positive and meaningful, but it also cut down on the amount of time that I actually spent on my newsfeed. I was done looking at my newsfeed. We all have this routine where we get up and we get to our phones and we look through our social media and see what everyone's up to, and it cut down my time drastically. And I did this with Snapchat, I did this with Instagram, and now when I open these social media apps, it's people that I actually give a shit about. People that I, not just everyone that I've known at some point, because it is a little bit creepy. Like, there's no reason for you to be looking at the story of someone you met briefly on a service trip or got drunk with at a bar one night and had a brief relationship with. Even someone who you might have known in high school, who you knew who you just kind of knew. If you're not interested in their story and you feel yourself asking, why am I watching this, then you should probably just not even follow them. Because not only did it reduce the amount of time that I spent on my Facebook feed, but this also reduced the amount of time that I spent looking at Snapchat, at Instagram, and now there's this goal of social media companies. Their entire intention is to pull you into these feeds and to keep you there as long as possible, because the goal is time occupation, because time is literally money. If they can get your attention and if they can get you invested in the application that they have on your phone, then the more ad revenue they make and the more invested you are in their website. Whether that's a good or bad thing for you, no one really cares. That's on you. So I went from, I didn't formally track this in any way, but I felt like I went from looking at my social media feeds, from doing that for about 20 minutes to 40 minutes, to cutting it down to about 5 minutes tops, which is incredible considering that amount of time that I could be doing something else with my life. So I would recommend doing this yourself, just going through your social media and actually following people and staying friends with people that you actually care about or that you feel is worthwhile. So anyway, there's also been this change in how the world has handled its social media since its earliest days. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, YouTube itself has gone from a very personalized website to something that's basically becoming television 2.0, and anyone whose opinion that Google doesn't agree with, it gets demonetized, and that person is kind of hanging dry unless they go find a different way to make revenue. But unfortunately, that's just the way things are going. In a way, having reduced anonymity is a good thing. It holds people accountable, but at the same time, there's this drawback in that there's less freedom online. So, anyway, my whole point of this video is that technology should be something that's a tool that you wield, something that you can utilize to make yourself a better person, no matter how vague that might sound. It shouldn't be an instrument that plays you. It should be you that are wielding it. And for a lot of people, video games are a source of enjoyment, but if your computer time starts to rack up past the 8-hour mark per day and it's consistent, then there might be a problem. So my other point to this video was that technology is inherently different than how real relationships work, obviously, and technology and social media should be treated as though these are real relationships, because the internet, as I said, creates this anonymity factor, and looking at someone's post through a wall of text is a lot more dehumanizing than talking with that person face to face, and it becomes a lot easier to just dehumanize that person, as I've already said. So big 3 points to me making this video. 1, privacy, and you should always be cognizant of who can see what is on your web pages, whether that's on social media, your personal blog, whatever. Because the internet is it's an incredibly powerful tool, but it's also an incredibly dangerous thing. And my opinion on the internet has shifted since I first started using it back in 2006 and 7. So even before that, really. So anyway, coming back to this legacy contact add-in. It's an odd thought that one day your child might have a Facebook, and it brings up the big question of what is the role that technology will have in the future, and it's only going to get bigger. The current president was retweeting fan art on his Twitter. That's how influential it's become. Can you picture a president doing that even 10 years ago? It kind of started with Obama about midway through his presidency. I'd say 2010-11, which is really when the internet became hugely popularized. It went from this marginalized thing that a smaller segment of the population used to now this thing that everyone's using, and that has changed the nature of how it works, and it will only continue to get bigger. Of course, the very nature of the internet as a medium will dictate how people interact on it, which is what attracted people originally to it in the beginning. So it might change how society itself interacts, which holds problems for society as a whole. The social contract is changing with this invention, which is incredibly powerful. We haven't really dealt with something this societal changing in a very long time. The biggest things that I can name off the top of my head are the railroad, telephone, which is itself becoming obsolete at this point, highways, things that connect us. And too much connection, I think, is what we're dealing with here. And this huge amount of responsibility that comes with the immense power that comes with computing that's advancing faster than I think we can socially handle. It's a lot to think about. So that's why it's best to see where you think you fall in this technological playing field, and to kind of consider where you think you fall in the scope of the internet. So I urge you to take a look at your social media pages. I urge you to consider what role you want to play in the internet in this historical, is really a historical time. So that's all I really had to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and comment if you have any opinions on this matter. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later. Ciao.